Okay, guys, check this out. I got one question. Could there really be a soul catcher on the moon? Stick around. We're going to dive right in. All right, so this is crazy. They're calling it a soul cube, but they saying that it's been put in place in order for our souls to be reincarnated. Okay? They're saying that this is stationed on the moon, that the moon is hollow. Okay? That they have done a couple of experiments by crashing certain satellites into the moon, and the moon did something like what you would call the gong effect. All right? Now, other people are claiming that this soul catcher has been hijacked by a group of reptoids who is trying to enslave our souls. This is crazy, but I got some literature we're going to listen to real quick. Let's get into this.
By Lord Malthus, who wants to know what exactly is the soul cube said to have been found on the dark side of the moon. And this is written by Esoteric Janavi. And the author begins, I was reading some disturbing stuff a while back about soul catchers and the matrix that keeps us all enslaved to the damn karmic wheel of reincarnation. There's a fascinating story that I read, complete with a picture of said soul catcher above. I guess that's the picture here. Who knows if this is a doctored picture or not, but this is what they reported. The launch of the space shuttle Atlantis on February 8th was one of the most spectacularly beautiful ever. But something strange happened that has not been widely reported. A long dark cone, extending from the shuttle's bright exhaust plume to the full moon near the horizon, appeared.
Now he's reading some literature, all right, that somebody wrote because, you know, most people are under disclosure agreements where they have a certain amount of time where they got to hold the information, right? All right, listening.
Rainbow-like, and some observers wondered how a dark shadow could possibly extend from one very bright object, the shuttle plume, to another, the full moon. Now, what doesn't make sense to me, writes the author, is why the soul catcher would be activated during the space shuttle launch.
Right.
No one died, so why would it be beaming anything off the shuttle?
Now, I know y'all remember when that other space shuttle went up in there and went up in flames. Most believe that the soul catcher snatched those souls before they even was able to fall back to the planet. You follow what I'm saying?
Or maybe it beamed something upon it.
Right.
Now, this was the third attempt to get the shuttle up for this mission. Would that be significant? I don't know. But the site author concluded that perhaps there was an exchange of souls on board. And that someone on the Atlantis came back with a different soul.
Wow.
However, the significant part of the article deals with a story that was told about the Hungarian Esterházy family, who believe they are descended from Sirius. Their homeworld was destroyed and they came to our galaxy.
Now, Sirius is another star constellation. They have like a Series A and a Series B. These are two different constellations where a lot of reptoids come from.
The main body of souls traveled as a soul group from their homeworld to the star Sol. That's our sun. The sun around which the Earth orbits. The soul group resided in the sun until preparations had been made for the souls to travel to Earth. When a soul was ready to individuate in preparation for going to the Earth, it was shot out of the sun and went to the moon.
Wow.
When one of the souls from the Sirius group was ready to travel to Earth to reside in a body, the Federation would shoot the soul to Earth with their soul shooter, which was on the moon.
Okay.
When the soul had finished its lessons, there was a reverse soul shooter in the Great Pyramid. Now another site talks about a cube on the moon and states this is the soul catcher. Quote, John says on Coast to Coast, that'd be John Lear, according to Lord Malthus. John Lear says on Coast to Coast that a massive cube has been found on the moon, and that this cube is responsible for not only holding human souls here on Earth, but after you die, the cube pulls your soul to it, and then erases your memory, and then reinserts your soul into a new baby on Earth to repeat the process over and over again.
Now, that's one thing that I know was going through my mind this whole entire life being here on this planet. Was really kind of like dive in and think about what happens after we die. You know what I mean? And we're not talking about the good and bad concept. We're talking about the scientifical concept of, you know, when a body dies, they had measured if the body becomes lighter when the soul leaves the body. And I believe it was like a few pounds lighter when the body died. So they was trying to like measure like if soul has a weight. You follow where I'm coming from? Yeah.
The moon was brought here from another star system long ago as part of an experiment.
Okay.
And Earth was taken over about 200,000 years ago. Humanity being a genetically engineered slave race. End quote. Okay, that makes it sound like the moon came from this Sirius star system, and goes on to say that when the Earth was taken over, reptilians hijacked the soul catcher too. This is also borne out by the news site. Quote, I don't remember much about what John Lear told me about the soul catcher that he knew about.
Okay.
What I do remember is that it was being used for a negative purpose, rather than the purpose for which it had been created.
Right.
It was catching souls, but it was catching them to enslave them, not as part of a two-way transportation method built to gain entry to a quarantined planet. Gunther, a member of the Esterhazy family, said that at the time this was going on, the Planetary Federation had a quarantine on planet Earth. No one was allowed to interfere in the breeding experiment that was going on. End quote. It seems that...
Now, guys, these are all documents written by people that most of them, I think, passed away at this time because, you know, when you have to hold information like this inside yourself for so long, you know what I mean? It could drive you insane. You know what I mean? It can definitely lead you down a road of insanity.
Catching cube was put in place to bypass the quarantine on Earth. They could not physically come to our planet. They had to do it the hard way, like the rest of us.
Right.
In other words, be born and die as humans. Other proof of this idea that the Earth was a breeding ground is this statement from another website article. If God...
All right, we definitely going through articles now as well. We're spinning through articles. Check it out, guys. It's another article.
Woman, then why are there so many blood types and RH values? While it is feasible that the Anunnaki genetically manipulated our DNA to create a slave race, one must ask, why are there so many different races, different languages, different blood types? Surely if the Anunnaki were to create a slave race, we would all be the same. This leads to another possibility. Not only did the Anunnaki create a slave race, but our galactic neighbors also seeded this planet with various races. Pleiadian, Lyrian, Arcturian, Andromedan, etc. as a galactic experiment to see how we would all get along. Now a certain website on the internet has a positive ray of hope to offer. This story...
Yeah. So there's a whole lot about how these government has really been just going ham outside the solar system. Let me see if I got something else.
If you've been in a car,
This here is wicked. This here is wicked. And these are things they don't want us to know. Check it out.
Shows that our personality, our memories, and capabilities are tied to physical patterns and activity within our neurons. Damage to certain areas of the brain through injury or disease can impact sensory perception, mobility, emotions, and even one's identity. However, there is an argument that, sure, the brain is responsible for cognition and awareness, but a soul could simply be energy that creates our consciousness. And if so, that consciousness could continue after death.
Right.
According to new theories using quantum physics, the soul may exist in another dimension beyond our normal space-time. Some tie this to quantum non-locality and entanglement. This is where information is passed between particles not just faster than the speed of light, but instantly, no matter how far apart they are.
Whoa.
This theory says the soul interacts with the human body through quantum states, exchanging information instantly across any distance. Studies of near-death experiences provide intriguing reports of the soul leaving the body and passing through a tunnel and encountering angelic beings or dead relatives. Yet neuroscience says many elements of NDEs are generated by physical brain activity under stress. Out-of-body and near-death episodes have been induced in controlled settings by stimulating specific parts of the brain. Conclusive scientific evidence of the human soul has yet to be discovered. But maybe the soul isn't meant to be detected with a scale or a microscope or a computer. And just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Religions around the world say the soul is eternal.
Right.
In Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the soul originates from God and can achieve eternal life through faith and virtuous living.
Right.
Hinduism and Sikhism believe the soul is immortal and reincarnated based on karma.
Okay.
Buddhism is a little different, though. The Wheel of Life provides a symbolic map of samsara in Buddhism. Buddhists must attain enlightenment before moving beyond this cycle, and that can take many, many tries. And that's starting to sound a lot like the Soul Recycler. And here's something interesting. In the image of the Wheel of Life, which is found on the walls of monasteries and schools all over the world, Buddha's pointing at the moon.
Whoa. Ain't that something?
The moon is the most familiar object in the night sky. It's inspired stories and myths and even religions. The moon has fueled scientific intrigue throughout human history. But here's the thing. The moon is weird. By all accounts, it shouldn't even be there.
Right. That's what I
The
said.
moon's orbit is extremely close to the Earth.
Hey, listen, gang. There are accounts where the moon wasn't even in the sky. And I always tell myself when I look at the moon, like, why does it look like it's turned on? The moon look like it's turned on. The moon look like there's an on switch and it never runs out of power, because I don't know where in science class they told me that was the reflection of the sun. And I just, wrote it off to not doing no research. But that always boggled me.
Largest moon in relation to its host planet in our entire solar system, or any solar system. We've never found anything like this in the galaxy. And this proximity has made total solar eclipses possible. This is because of the precise diameters and distances between the sun, moon, and Earth.
Right.
This is an unbelievable coincidence. Some might say impossible.
Right. That's what I said.
There is no astronomical reason why the moon and the sun should fit so well. It is the sheerest of coincidences, and only the Earth among all the planets is blessed in this fashion.
It's not only too close.
Yo, I never thought about that. That's a thinking move right there, cause that's why when you get the eclipse or the full eclipse, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's what she said. What?
Using other planets as a reference, the size of the moon should be about 40 miles in diameter. That's it. It's over 2,000 miles wide. This is also not seen anywhere else. The closest comparison is Pluto and its moon Charon, which is about 2/3 the size of Pluto. But this probably doesn't count because Pluto and Charon are a double dwarf planet.
That's what she said. What?
The Earth and Moon are also really a double planet. But there's something else strange about that. The barycenter, or center of gravity between the Earth and Moon, is inside the Earth. That means there should be a wobble in the Moon's orbit.
Right.
The Moon does wobble a little bit, but its orbit is one of the most perfectly circular that's ever been seen. The Moon is also precisely locked in orbit so the same side always faces Earth. This is also highly unusual among moons and planets. Some scientists argue that the Moon doesn't wobble because it's not very dense.
Right.
But that's also a problem. If the Moon and Earth were formed at the same time, which is the leading theory, then why is the Earth so much more dense?
Because the moon is hollow.
Right.
Sounds
The lunar
about
orbiter
right.
experiments vastly improved our knowledge of the moon's gravitational field, indicating the frightening possibility that the moon might be hollow.
In November 1969, Apollo 12 launched as NASA's second manned mission to the Moon. One of the key objectives was investigating the Moon's interior. Apollo 12 astronauts placed seismometers on the lunar surface, similar to those used to detect earthquakes on Earth. The astronauts then intentionally crashed their ascent stage module into the Moon to gather seismic data.
Right.
Now, instead of typical seismic patterns, the data showed the Moon vibrating for over an hour.
Now that right there proves scientifically that the moon is hollow. The moon's hollow, gang. They heard that gong go off for over an hour through space. Could you believe it?
Famously described as ringing like a bell. The phenomenon led some to speculate that the Moon might be hollow or contain significant hollow spaces. This theory is supported by the still classified Apollo 17 project called Chapel Bell. And this sounds like an experiment that has something to do with sound, but all these years later, it's still classified.
Right.
In 1970, two Soviet scientists
Now think about it. Why wouldn't that be accurate and true information if that information was classified?
Not only is the Moon hollow, the Moon is an artificial spacecraft brought to Earth a long time ago. This spaceship Moon theory explains many of the anomalies, like the low density, the sound reverberation, and why the Moon is even here at all. Spaceship Moon also explains the strange crater issue.
Crater issue?
Oh yeah, moon craters are very odd. When an asteroid impacts a moon or planet, it leaves a crater. The bigger the asteroid, the deeper the crater, right?
Yeah, I feel you.
Well, on the Moon, no matter how big the object that impacts it, craters don't penetrate deeper than a couple of miles. Now, this could be explained by a rigid, impenetrable outer shell encasing the Moon.
Spaceship Moon.
Mm-hmm.
If the astronomical data is reduced, it is found that the data require that the interior of the Moon is less dense than the outer parts. Indeed, it would seem that the Moon is more like a hollow than a homogeneous sphere.
Data also indicates the Moon's core is less dense than the outer layers, the complete opposite of, well, every other celestial object ever discovered. This could be evidence that the Moon has vast hollow inner cavities.
Wow.
Also, the soil and moon dust on the surface are actually older than the rock and soil within the Moon.
Wow.
That only makes sense if the interior Moon was mined, hollowed out, and then the material brought to the surface. Now, there are scientific explanations for all of this, but to be honest, they fall short.
Looking at all the anomalies and unanswered questions about the moon, the best explanation for the moon is an observational error. It doesn't exist.
It's easier to...
Hey. This goes deep, guys. This is a deep rabbit hole. This is for smart thinkers only, all right? Brace yourself.
The non-existence of the moon than its existence.
We cannot help but come to the conclusion that the moon, by rights, ought not to be there. The fact that it is one of those strokes of luck almost too good to accept.
Right.
The Moon is weird. It shouldn't be there, and it might be hollow. But is it a transmission device that affects our behavior? Well, there's more crime during a full moon. There are more car accidents. Sensitivity to pain is higher during a full moon. A full moon disrupts our sleep. Some people are prone to erratic behavior during a full moon. This is called the werewolf effect. This is also where the word lunatic comes from. Talk to a cop or a nurse. They'll tell you that they can tell when it's getting close to a full moon. Again, science tries to explain this erratic behavior.
Wow.
Like there's more crime during a full moon because it's easier to see.
No.
Do you believe that's true? Hit that like button right now and get in my comment section and let me know if you think that's true.
Easier to get caught.
Right, the science is thin. And notice that all these changes in behavior during a full moon are negative. More crime, more pain, more car crashes. If there are aliens feeding off our negative emotions and they use the moon to do it, well, suddenly everything makes sense. But there is good news. You can fight back.
Wow. That was crazy. I definitely learned something. I didn't even want to play too much of the video because I don't want to get a copyright or nothing for that. But salute to the Y Files, man. Nah, man, we like the Y Files, man. You know what I'm saying? Don't boo the Y Files. We like them. We like them. The Y Files. I know y'all don't like the little fishy thing, right? But he comes with some good information. Salute to him for this information here. You understand what I'm saying? But this goes deep, gang. This goes deep. This changes everything. This changes everything. So there's a soul catcher on the moon that's catching souls, reincarnating the ones that they choose to reincarnate. It's basically like a cutoff device. So we mean to tell me we got aliens out there intercepting God's natural way of reproduction? This is a heavy one, gang. This is a heavy one. This is a heavy one. Because what's the explanations for it being a soul cube on the moon? And the moon being hollow. And the moon being a spacecraft. And the moon being put there. And the moon being put like as round, perfect to match up with an eclipse with the Earth. And its orbit. And how the way it's stuck in orbit, it never goes around. It just goes around. You know, it stays one side up all the time, like sunny side up. This is really weird. This is really weird. Hit that like button if you learned something. Stay tuned. Subs up, bells on. Y'all already know.